TeamStrub, day 95. Welcome to Charlottesville, Virginia, and I am thrilled to be here in state number 47 at ReadyKids with Jacki, the executive director. So, Jacki, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're still in the morning. This is great.
Thanks for coming by.
Thrilled to be here. Can you take a moment, Jacki, please introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure. I'm Jacki Bryant. I'm the executive director of ReadyKids. I've been here about 15 years now, executive director for the past almost 10. So I worked here in another capacity before I became the executive director. My background is as a counselor. I'm a licensed professional counselor and did a lot of direct work with kids and families prior to coming here.
Fantastic, fantastic. Jacki, what is ReadyKids?
ReadyKids is obviously a nonprofit, since you're visiting nonprofits around the United States. We're a nonprofit organization, been in continued existence since 1921, so actually one of the oldest nonprofits in Charlottesville, something we're very proud of. Our organization is all about getting kids ready for learning, ready for relationships, and ultimately ready for life. We know there are a lot of things that can get in the way of kids developing and growing in a healthy and successful way. And our goal as an organization is to try to remove those risk factors and eliminate the barriers that keep kids from being successful and helping move them on that journey to being a successful adult, a ready adult.
Fantastic. So there's a broad variety of different programs. I got a chance to meet pretty much all the staff this morning, which is fantastic. The program I got a chance to focus a little bit on today was the Ready Steps program. So let's talk a little bit about that. What is Ready Steps?
Ready Steps is one of our Learning Ready programs, and it's really geared towards children 0 to 5 who are at home with their parents and that are not having the opportunity to be in a public or a private preschool setting. So when they show up at kindergarten, they've really never had the same experience that other children have had, being in a classroom, of having a teacher, of work, being with other children in that social environment in that way. And so what happens is they can tend to lag behind when they get to kindergarten, and our goal is for them not to lag behind, to show up at kindergarten ready to go. So our Ready Steps program, we go out in low-income neighborhoods in the Charlottesville area, and we bring the preschool program to the children and their parents. And what it does is it recognizes parents as their child's first and best teacher. So, we all are born to our parents, obviously, and when our parents raise us, they're doing the best job they can to get us ready and to provide stimulating learning environment and things like that. But this gives them another opportunity for their children to interact with other children, to get used to the routine and the structure of a preschool program, to have developmentally stimulating activities, exploratory play, so that hopefully when they get to that kindergarten door, they are just as prepared as any other child in this community.
And it's really great. This has been a theme throughout my whole summer too, is the idea of, it's a classic intervention versus prevention. It's really great to see these problems being addressed while these kids are still very young.
Yes. Yeah, you might be surprised to know a child from a middle to upper income family arrives at kindergarten with a vocabulary of about 25,000 words. A child from a low income family arrives with a vocabulary of about 5,000 words, which is that of an average 3-year-old. So, without that prevention, they show up 2 years behind their peers. And even if school does their job every year, that child is still 2 years behind. And so our goal is that they don't show up behind, that they show up right and ready to go.
Let's talk about the role of ReadyKids in the crowded nonprofit atmosphere in Charlottesville. So it's great. Again, this program seems to focus a lot on the younger generations, the very young kids. How do you fit in amongst all of the other youth organizations in the area?
Yeah, in Charlottesville, there are a lot of nonprofits in Charlottesville. There are youth-serving organizations, arts and culture, there's senior programs, there's a lot of different programs. In terms of the youth-oriented programs, I would say that our programs are very prevention-oriented across the whole span of what we do. We're trying to be prevention-oriented. We work very collaboratively with the other nonprofits, try hard not to compete because there's enough business, unfortunately, for all of us in what we're trying to do. There's a lot of kids in this community that can use that extra boost, which is what we're trying to do as well. So try to collaborate. And then I think where it can get confusing is who does what and when, and the community can get confused about that. And so it's really important for us as a nonprofit in this community to be very clear about what we do and what our goals are and how those add to or differ from other nonprofits that are also serving children in this community.
Are there organizations, or is there one organization maybe that serves as an umbrella in Charlottesville that sort of fosters that collaboration amongst you guys?
There really isn't. It's organization to organization, and so it's the executive directors getting to know each other, the direct service staff getting to know each other, so that we think of each other when a referral comes up or when there are other things that need to happen.
Interesting. Let's pivot here. Like I said, I got to meet most of the staff this morning, which was fantastic. We got a selfie up on Instagram, which you got to check that out. I noticed a theme amongst the staff this morning, very predominantly female.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
You know, it's an interesting question. I think that what we tend to think of as a community, I mean, as a country and as a society, is that this is women's work. You know, the caring and the nurturing of children or human service work tends to be women's work. I think some of it is that the pay is not great for nonprofit staff. And so women who are often, and I don't mean to stereotype here, but are often second incomes, you know, are able to be a little more flexible in the salary that they're able to generate for their families, and where males may feel that they're not able to do that. And I know that sounds very stereotypical because families are very different, and there's a lot of different ways that families are structured. But I do think that it's a field that is the human service field, I think, appeals to women, but I also think the way it is structured, women are more able to work in those kinds of positions.
Interesting. Very interesting. On that note, why do you do what you do? Why do you choose to work in the nonprofit sector?
You know, you asked me a great question, and I could probably talk all day about this, which I won't because I know we're on a time limit. Kids are my heart. You know, I believe and have believed for a very long time that kids don't ask to be born. We bring them into this world, and we have an obligation as a society to make sure that they have every opportunity to be healthy, to be successful, to be safe, to grow in a way that allows them to find joy and happiness in the world. And so that's what drives me to this work, is making a difference for kids and making sure that children have every opportunity that we can provide for them.
Great. We're going to get into the classical questions here. Let's start with funding. I got a great chance this morning to spend some time with Allison. So I know a little bit about how, you know, the funding comes together, but talk about where the money comes from for all this program you guys do.
Yeah, we have a fairly diverse funding stream. We have we are a nonprofit, so we rely very heavily on community support, both through individual donations, through business support, through our local government, which has been very generous to us. We also write grants for state and federal government that provide some base for the programs that we provide. And then we also write to private foundations who have also been very generous support. So our goal is to keep a diverse funding so that if any one funding stream falls out, our programs aren't in jeopardy, that we're able to continue them by relying on other funding sources as well.
Very interesting. What's the role of volunteers with ReadyKids?
Volunteers, you know, community support and community involvement is crucial to any nonprofit. We have several volunteer opportunities here, both reading to children or helping in the play groups that you went out and volunteered this morning, enrolling kids for that. We have once a day, you know, one day kinds of projects that are just things that help us move through our projects more successfully. And then obviously community support in the form of donations or just getting involved, being a board member, finding ways to really bring your individual self and to give back through nonprofits is really important.
Great. What's your favorite part of your job?
Oh, that's an interesting question. You know, there's two parts. Do you mind if I say two?
Let's do it.
There's the first part is seeing the kids and the families and seeing that there's something we can do that makes a difference, and that really drives my efforts. The second thing I really love doing is paying attention to this organization and the way we operate and bringing teams together and making sure that our staff are happy and content in the work that they're doing because they do hard work and that they get the support and the infrastructure they need to be successful at the work that they're trying to do, and make sure all those pieces come together in a way that makes us successful as an organization for the kids and families that we're trying to work with.
What would be your best piece of advice for a young person? I know you had to squeeze it on the car this morning.
Yeah.
Again, if you're watching from earlier in the trip, it was kind of tough to find a spot on there.
It was. The car was getting really packed up with some great words of wisdom.
Yeah, it's really cool. So what words of wisdom would you have for a young person watching this?
You know, you and I were talking earlier about how important it is to find the kid in yourself, no matter what your age is, to remember to have fun, to remember to find the joy, to look at things through an innocent eye sometimes, just to see the world in a different way. It's easy as you get older to find the responsibility and to kind of get a little jaded about how things are, but it's fun to remember that kids look at the world in a very different way, and if we can remind ourselves to do that, the world will look very different.
So you're not from Charlottesville?
I'm not from Charlottesville.
Why do you choose to live in this area? What makes this area a good place to live?
Do you know, Charlottesville is a great, great town. It is a very generous town. It's a very involved, civically minded town, which is awesome. There's a lot of resources here for kids and families, so it makes the work easier because there are things that we can find. I know there's other areas where it's so isolated. It's really hard to find resources when families need extra support, and here we're lucky to have a lot of resources. It's beautiful. You're visiting here, you can see between the mountains and the area itself. It's a very beautiful area, and it's very accessible. I can get to DC in 3 hours. I can be at the beach in 3 hours. I can be in the mountains in 40 minutes, and so it's an area where there's a lot of accessibility. It makes it fun to live here.
Great. Where can people learn more about your organization?
Best way is to go to our website, which is www.readykidscville.org. We also have a Facebook page, so search Ready Kids Charlottesville on Facebook and you'll find us there. And we have a Pinterest. I have to admit, I'm not a Pinterest person, so I can't tell you much about Pinterest, but we do have a Pinterest board.
Awesome. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been great. Thank you
so
much,
Jackie. And there you go. We'll have some Snapchat Q&A going on here real soon. Check out more photos from my experience here at Ready Kids on Instagram.